Welcome to NFL World, where the NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And week 13 in the NFL, we start out on Thanksgiving with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Lions favored by 2.5, which actually surprises me a lot. This Lions team has not played great in the recent weeks. The game against the Eagles, they would not, how do I describe it? They were not good offensively. Outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, they couldn't do anything. Then they played the Lions go and play the Giants at home, and they almost get beat by the Giants. It was such a weird game. The Lions won. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs has 3 touchdowns. They can't do anything. And it's concerning. This offense, since Dan Campbell has taken over, has not been very good. Has not been making good choices. Not good play calling. They're dependent on Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's getting to be pretty tough for them to win games. The Packers, they barely beat the Giants. So the Giants have shown that they're pretty good offensively because they're in these battles week in and week out. But the Packers just trounced the Minnesota Vikings, with a team the Lions could not beat. So the way I look at this, the Packers should be favored and not the Lions. It also is a need for both teams. The Packers, who are 7-3-1, if they lose this game, they're just out of the playoffs. The Lions would take that spot because of tiebreakers and all that. The tiebreakers, more wins, all that. But if the Packers win, the Packers would have more of an opportunity to keep that spot, but the Lions would also be 7-5, and then hoping at that point, because San Francisco beating Carolina does not help them, and Dallas, who plays after them, is neck and neck with them at this point. You cannot allow that to happen. I'm going to give this game to the Packers here because I just don't like what the Lions have done in recent weeks. So give me the Packers. They win this game and sweep the Lions in the division series. 28-14 is my final. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys +3 at home. I don't quite understand why the Chiefs keep getting favored. They had a great win against Indianapolis. I'm not going to change that. They've played really good in that game. They handed the ball to Kareem Hunt 30-plus times. He had 100 yards in the touchdown. They won that game being down 20-9 for the big part of that game. They did a lot of good things. But they were not the only team. They won in overtime. They won on a game-winning field goal. The Cowboys, who won on a game-winning field goal against the Eagles, who played on the Black Friday game. The Cowboys down 21, bore back, end up winning the game at the end of regulation on a game-winning field goal. These two teams, this is going to be interesting because of how, if Dallas loses to Kansas City or if Kansas City loses to Dallas, the playoff hopes don't really get changed percentage-wise. But both teams need this because they're losing ground. The Chiefs are 6-5. If the Chiefs lose, they're 6-6 and are now 4 games back, or almost 4 or 5 games back of Denver, and you don't have enough time to make up that ground. However, if the Cowboys win and beat Detroit, or and Detroit loses to Green Bay, now Dallas and Detroit only a game apart, and they play the following Thursday. if the Cowboys lose, that pretty much ends their playoff hopes because they're just not going to have enough time to get enough wins in conference. So that's what's going on here. But looking at the big injuries, there's 2 injuries for the Cowboys. There's 1 big injury for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's start with the Cowboys. Tyler Guyton, high ankle sprain. He's going to miss some time. The advantage of the Cowboys schedule is you get a week after this, and then you get 10 days. And then you have the 4 after Sunday. So it kind of evens out to about 14 days, almost 2 weeks for Tyler Guyton. You hope it would be the game against Minnesota. He could come back, but you're not exactly sure. For the Chiefs, Trey Smith, their best offensive lineman, he's out. He has both high and low ankle sprains. I've never heard someone have both, but that's exactly what he had. It's going to be interesting. This offensive line of the Chiefs have not been what they need to be. They've played kind of sparingly at times, but other times they've played really well. Not having Trey Smith, though, I think does cause issues. And the way this Cowboys defensive line, especially their interior defensive line, have played in recent weeks, that's an advantage for the Cowboys. The other big name injury for the Cowboys is George Pickens, who was listed, because you have to, as a team, list the injuries no matter what or how severe they are. You have to put him on the injury report. He has both a knee and calf injury. The hope is he can play. The Cowboys need him out there. If he is out there, expect Trent McDuffie to play and basically follow him around. And then that's really where you have to have CD have a great game. Pickens came back from that injury. He suffered against Philadelphia, came back, made the game sealing catch that got the Cowboys into field goal range for Brandon Aubrey to make it. That's what I'm talking about here. So I do have the Cowboys winning in a very close game. Actually, similar score, same score I had last week, 28-24 Cowboys. Moving on to Thanksgiving night, Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens favored by 7. This could be a history-making night for Derrick Henry, as he could surpass, and most likely will surpass, Jim Brown on the all-time rushing list. He needs 18 yards. Joe Burrow could play in this game. Not exactly sure about T. Higgins. He got banged up in the game against the Patriots. It looked like he got knocked out. Hopefully he's okay, but injuries like concussions are hard to come back from in a short period of time. Jamar Chase will be back from his suspension. So I would, if I'm Cincinnati, you want any chance at all, you have to bring Joe Burrow back. And you got to see if he's able to. If he's not able to, don't risk it. But if you think you still have a chance, you got to do what you got to do. But give me the Ravens to win. I know the Ravens' offense has not been great, and I know their defense has not been great. But the defense has been better in recent weeks. The Ravens have leaned on Derrick Henry a lot more, because I'm not 100% certain Lamar Jackson's healthy. But that's okay. They're winning games the way they need to win them. Give me the Ravens to win in a very odd game, 28-25. Moving on to the Bears and Eagles, in which the Eagles are favored by 7. This game is on Black Friday. The Chicago Bears have, I don't think anyone had on their bingo card this year that the Bears would be the best team in the NFC North and lead the NFL in takeaways. I don't think anyone had that, but they have. They played really well. Their defense has gotten better and better each and every week. Their offense with Caleb Williams has played really well. I'm curious to see how they play this matchup against the Eagles, who I don't even know how you could say what the Eagles did. They didn't score after the 10 or 11 minute mark of the second quarter on Sunday. They were that awful. They had 8 drives where they couldn't do anything. They fumbled, they punted a lot. There was one of their drives they ended on downs. They were just not good. Not good. Not a good enough performance by them. They can't be that bad. Saquon does not look like the same guy. This offensive line has been, I know, really banged up, but they got just destroyed by the defensive line of the Cowboys. Jalen Hurts only took the 1 sack, but it was at a really bad time. And their defense got worn down by the run game of the Cowboys. So if you're the Bears, if you can do all those things, because you basically have the same kind of defensive line the Cowboys do. It's not the best sack or pass rush team, but they can get pressure. When they do, they can get a lot of negative plays out of the Eagles, because the Eagles' offensive line, again, did not have their best stuff on Sunday. With all that being said, the Eagles are favored by 7 points. Their defense has to play much better. Adoree Jackson left the game with a concussion, did not return. We'll see if he plays. It was kind of interesting. They went and moved Cooper DeJean to the outside, and they put him on George Pickens, and it didn't work. They tried putting him on CeeDee Lamb, and on the one play that I remember seeing DeJean on Lamb, he gave up a 50-yard pass. It was a great throw, great catch, but he gave up a 50-yard completion. And he gave up a 40-plus yard completion to George Pickens. So you can't afford that to happen. I do think the Bears win this game. Just their style, it's very similar to the Cowboys style of the way they want to play. So I'm going to take the Bears to win in a weird game. It's very weird. 24-21. Moving on to the Bills and Steelers. Steelers getting plus 3.5. I don't know why the Bills are favored. They didn't play good against the Texans. 8 sacks. The Steelers, they get pressure. They're going to get pressure. Their defense has looked really good. Aaron Rodgers, it looks like he's going to play in this game after being very close to playing against the Bears. Did not happen. If the Bills don't play like A+ every week on offense, they don't win. If Josh Allen or James Cook, or even both of them, don't play A+ football, they don't win. I'm taking the Steelers for that reason, because I look at this Steelers team. The Bills can't stop the run. The Steelers want to run the football. Give me the Steelers to win in a very tight and close game, but it's going to be a weird score at the end too, 31-27. Final game, the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. Patriots favored by 7.5. Giants last 2 weeks have played really good offensively. Defensively, not so hot. They fired Shane Bowen on Monday. We posted a video about that yesterday on the channel. Go check it out. Look, I'm not exactly sure who's going to take over as the defensive coordinator, but I'll tell you this. This team, not very good on defense. They have a lot of good defensive linemen. It's hard for me to figure out, and I say this the last couple weeks I've said this. You have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Brian Burns, not in this order, but Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence. You should be better than this. You really should be better than this. You have not played good. And like your secondary, I understand that, and your linebackers have been hit or miss. But your defensive line, like they attacked against the Lions, and still you could not stop them from scoring. It was not a good enough performance by the Giants. Defense, they couldn't stop Jahmyr Gibbs. You couldn't do anything. And the Patriots, they've won 10 games. They're the first team in the NFL to win 10 games this year. They get after you on defense. They pummel you on offense. They're going to run the ball. This team embodies Mike Vrabel and Mike Vrabel's system to a T. They're going to run the football, bleed the clock. When they need the quarterback to make some throws, he'll make them, and he'll connect on them. They're going to play suffocating defense. That's what they do. That is the best way to do it. And it comes back to, we said this earlier in the year in one of our pinned comments. I'm going to do it again in the pinned comments today. Does Mike Vrabel, and I'm going to change it a little bit, does Mike Vrabel deserve to be called unanimously the coach of the year? Honestly, if you can name him defensive coach of the year, you would do that as well, because they've been awesome. But that's the pinned comment of today's show. Does Mike Vrabel deserve to be unanimously called coach of the year? Because to me, there's nobody else. Maybe Ben Johnson, but I can't even deny what Mike Vrabel is doing. A team that was so bad on both offense and defense last year. They bring in Vrabel. They bring in his staff. They bring in some players from the Tennessee Titans that he coached. They brought in Stephon Diggs. They bring in a great culture and great mentality. And the next thing you know, they've won 10 games. No other team has done that. They've been awesome. And I think they're going to win this game. This will be their 11th win. They are going to hit a bye week sooner or later. Once that happens, they're going to be like, okay, now that bye week, maybe Denver can catch up. But I got the Patriots winning in a great game. I think the Giants are still going to put up a lot of points. Give me the Patriots to win 31-24. Let me know in the comments who you have winning this weekend. And as I said before, the pinned comment, does Mike Vrabel deserve to be coach of the year, and does that deserve to be unanimous? Let me know in the comments. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.